Oh. Well, I got up real early. I couldn't sleep. I still got about an hour before my 10-hour reset or 10-hour break is up. But the store was closed when I got up, so I started making my own coffee. And it looks like now it's open, but that's all right. Saved a couple of dollars on. Um, isn't that ridiculous? Over $2 for a cup of coffee, which costs probably 10 cents to make. They're making a fortune on that stuff. I've got a, hopefully you guys can see this morning. I got my French press, and yesterday when I was making coffee, I went to push this thing down and everything in here fell apart. It came unscrewed. And I think I've got it put back together right. I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out. But this makes a really good cup of coffee. I mean, this is probably the best cup of coffee you'll get. But it just takes a while. I've got my, if you guys can see it, got my my generator on my trailer back there. And so I'll probably just start bringing my my regular coffee maker, my what do they call them, the single cup coffee makers, and just crank that thing up in the morning and make a cup of coffee and be over and done. So yesterday I got to El Paso, got unloaded about 9 o'clock in the morning, and it was pretty much a bust. And you know, it's kind of 50-50 there. I went over to Hooters, got some wings, sat around there for about an hour looking at the load boards, and one load popped up on the board going from El Paso to Las Vegas, and it fell off the board pretty quick before I could call on it. And then just a few minutes later, it was put back on the board by a different broker, but it had El Paso to Henderson. So I called on it just to, you know, because I was curious. And of course, it was a foreign broker, and they said, "Oh, this my friend's going to Las Vegas," and so I knew right away they had scalped the load. And so I went ahead and I checked their credit while I was sitting there talking to them, and they, of course, again, they had no credit. And I told him, I said, I'd do it for $1,500, which it's only like 700 miles. I knew he was going to say no, but it stayed on the board for the rest of that day. I guess everybody else is thinking the same thing. You know, this guy was going to scam them or something. So I waited around till there was one more load to drop on the board. Just would have been perfect and would have made me some very good money. But when I called, as soon as it hit the board, I called. You've got to be quick on these things. And I got a guy that he said, "Okay, I'll transfer you over to the guy who has the load." And he transferred me, and I stayed on hold for just a few minutes, and I realized, oh man, somebody else got there in front of me. And sure enough, when he answered the phone, he said, "Yep, the guy in front of you took it." So I waited around till about 2:30 and realized there was just nothing dropping on the board. And what really made up my mind was I went over to the Pilot to get some fuel, and there were about 30, this is no kidding here, there was 30 cargo vans sitting there waiting for a load. And as I drove around the parking lot, there were several hot shots sitting there waiting. And I realized, you know what, I'm just not going to waste my time here. So I just hit the road about 30 minutes later after looking at the board, and nothing, absolutely nothing falling in there. And I actually got a call because I posted my truck, and he said, "Man, I've got a real interesting one for you. It's a round trip with a sign." said you pick up a sign, and he went through the whole details of it, and then he said the sign's 36 feet long, and I said, man, I hate to tell you this, but when I posted my truck, I put in there that was only 20 feet long. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. So right after that, I just hit the road, and I did headed closer to San Antonio. So now I'm within range of San Antonio, Laredo, Austin, and it's Friday, so I'm kind of leaning toward going home. But if something really good pops up, then I might just hit the road and make some money over the weekend. We'll see. But coffee's almost made, and I've still got about an hour to go before my 10-hour break is up. So not the beautiful morning it was yesterday. I'm here in the hill country, and parked at a truck stop this time, as you can probably hear. But now it's more of the waiting game, and I'm only about a 5-hour drive to the house also. So if it don't pan out by, I don't know, 9 or 10, I may just head on to the house and try to find something for Monday. We'll see. Welcome back. It just stopped storming and raining here, and I got to make a decision. Do I pick something up, work over the weekend, or do I head straight to the house? Or do I find something picking up here that goes through the house? That'd be hard to do, but very, very glad that I have that choice to make. There's a long, long time where I didn't have any choices. I was thinking about every time it rains. I was thinking I used to work for AT&T and had to work in the rain, all kinds of weather. But this one particular time, I was down in Houston. This is about 20 years ago, and I was working on a cut cable in an apartment project. And I was sitting down in this hole. It was sprinkling rain. It was muddy. And I was sitting there for most of the day fixing this cut cable. And I was nasty and dirty and hating life. And this lady, older lady, she had walked back and forth a few times going from one apartment to another. And at some point during the day, she walks by and she has this big tall boy in her hand. And she stops and she looks down at me, and I look up and she says, I wish I could find me a job where I can sit down all day. And she walks off, and I was like, really? Is that what people are looking for in life? To be given money? I wonder where she's at these days. Who knows? Maybe she found that job where she could just sit around and get paid. But I've always tried to improve my situation, and I worked at AT&T for 17 horrible, horrible years. Every single day, I didn't know whether or not I was going to be able to go home on time, whether or not I was going to have to work the weekend, whether or not I was going to have to work the holiday. I got a 2 or 3 weeks of vacation, but, depending on the seniority of the crew, when the vacation schedule got to me, there usually wasn't anything left but maybe the second week in January. But I'd see these guys that would work there for 30 or 40 years, and the whole time they're just their whole goal in life was just to hold on until they were able to get to that retirement date, and then then they could live their lives. They can enjoy that nice big house they have and that brand new truck. And man, I hated it. I hated that feeling. Felt like I was trapped. Yeah, I'm so glad that I finally made it to this point. And you can look back and say, I wish I'd have done it a long time ago. But life leads you down different paths, and I had to walk my path. But here I am, finally. I'm making my own decisions, and it doesn't mean that the decision for what I do today is easy at all, because it's really a choice of, do I make more money to put in the bank, or do I go home? My inclination is to go home and spend time with the family, but I've got bills to pay too, so it's important that I don't do that too much. There's a balance, but now I get to choose. I remember the whole time I was at AT&T, you'd have these guys coming from the union telling you, oh, you'll never get a job anywhere else making this much money. Look at all these benefits we're getting for you. And they're politicians. They're protecting their job because they get paid by the union. And if there's nobody working for AT&T and nobody in the union, they don't get paid. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt. And when I was there, I thought I was making great money. I'd look at that paycheck, because I was forced to work overtime every week. I'd look at that paycheck and think, man, this is really good money. But now that I'm in this situation, I realize that money sucked. And the way everything I had to do for it sucked. So sitting here for the last hour drinking my coffee and thinking about it, and I'm sort of inclined to go home and spend some time with the family. But I don't know. We'll see. We will see.